The day I decided to destroy my family started like any other, with my brother Flynn eating my food and complaining about it. I stood in the kitchen, watching him devour the lunch I'd meal prepped for work, while he scrolled mindlessly through his phone. "You always buy the wrong kind of mayo," he said through a mouthful of my sandwich. "I'm Vera, and at 32, I own this house." Well, technically. The reality is more complicated, because family always makes things complicated. 3 years ago, I bought this place with my software developer salary and savings from my weekend consulting gigs. Dad moved in after his retirement fund dried up, and Flynn never left. That's because I buy the light mayo. For my sandwiches. Which that was. He shrugged, reaching for the second half. "You can make another one." I grabbed my laptop and headed to my home office, the only space that was truly mine in this 3-bedroom house I paid for. Except when I opened the door, there was a stranger sleeping on an air mattress in the middle of my carefully organized workspace. My heart stopped. "Flynn!" "Oh yeah," Flynn appeared behind me, still chewing. "Kai needed a place to crash. Just for a few weeks." Kai, Flynn's best friend from college, who'd been between jobs for the past 3 years. He stirred on the mattress, giving me a lazy wave. "You can work in the hallway," Flynn said, as if he was doing me a favor. "There's that little table by the window." I turned to him, my voice barely controlled. "This is my office. I have meetings. Client calls. I need privacy." "Don't be dramatic." Flynn rolled his eyes. "Kai's going through some stuff. He needs a proper room. And I need my workspace. The workspace in my house. The house I bought." "What's all this shouting about?" Dad emerged from his room, looking irritated. He'd probably been watching TV all morning, like usual. "Vera's being selfish about her office," Flynn said before I could speak. "Kai needs a place to stay." Dad's face hardened. "Really, Vera? After everything this family's been through?" "Everything this family's been through. Right. Like me working 60-hour weeks to keep us afloat. Like me covering Dad's medical insurance. Like me paying for Flynn's car repairs last month." "I have meetings," I repeated, hating how small my voice sounded. "Client calls. I can't work from the hallway." "Sure you can," Dad snapped. "Stop being difficult. Family helps family." "Kai isn't family." "He's like a brother to Flynn," Dad said. "And you're being ridiculous. Just grab your laptop and work somewhere else. You're good at adapting. You always have been." I looked at my father. Really looked at him. The man who hadn't hugged me since Mom died. Who never once said he was proud of me. Who watched me work myself to exhaustion while telling Flynn to find his passion. "Fine," I said quietly. "I'll work in the hallway." They both smiled, satisfied. Problem solved. Difficult daughter managed. I walked to the hallway table, a wobbly IKEA piece I'd assembled myself, and opened my laptop. Behind me, I heard Flynn and Dad discussing what to order for dinner. On my card, naturally. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Instead of opening my work emails, I opened Google and typed, "How to sell house quickly." The first result was an ad. Cash buyers, fast closing, no questions asked. I clicked it. My phone buzzed. A text from my coworker, Cassandra. "Meeting in 5. You joining virtually?" I typed back, "Yes. And hey, do you still know that realtor you mentioned? The one who handled your sister's quick sale? Regina?" "Sure. Want her number?" I looked over my shoulder. Flynn was back in my office, my former office, helping Kai set up a gaming console. Dad had returned to his TV shows. Neither spared me a glance. "Yes," I replied to Cassandra. "I think it's time for a change." My hands were steady as I typed the next message, even though my heart was racing. 3 years of suppressed rage and resentment crystallized into perfect clarity. They thought I was good at adapting? Fine. They thought family helps family? Perfect. I was about to help them learn some very expensive lessons about taking people for granted. Actually, I typed to Cassandra, can you call Regina for me? Tell her I need someone discreet, someone who can help me sell this place without my family knowing. The response came quickly. OMG. Are you doing what I think you're doing? I smiled as Flynn's laughter echoed from my office, followed by the sound of them rearranging my furniture. Yes, I replied. I'm going to sell this house right out from under them, and they won't know until the new owners show up with the keys. Regina was exactly what I needed: efficient, discreet, and delightfully ruthless. We met at a coffee shop 20 minutes from my house, far enough that I wouldn't run into anyone I knew. Cash buyers are your best bet, she said, sliding a folder across the table. They'll take it as is, no inspection drama. Faster closing, but you'll get about 15% less than market value. I sipped my latte. How fast are we talking? 2 weeks, maybe less. She studied me over her glasses. Your coworker Cassandra mentioned there might be occupancy issues. You could say that. The buyers I have in mind specialize in complicated situations. They'll handle the eviction process legally, with police present if needed. She paused. But you should know. Once you sign those papers, there's no going back. Your family will be legally required to leave immediately. The cafe door chimed. I glanced up to see a young couple with a baby, looking happy, normal. The kind of family that probably said, I love you, and meant it. My phone buzzed. A text from Flynn. We need more groceries. Also, Kai finished the last of your coffee. I turned back to Regina. Where do I sign? The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in acting normal. I worked from my hallway table, took my calls outside, and pretended not to notice when Kai and Flynn turned my office into their personal gaming cave. They even hung up their stupid neon beer signs on my walls. Your brother's friend seems settled in, Cassandra commented during our lunch break. We were sitting in her car, parked behind the office building. It had become our daily planning spot. Oh, you have no idea, I said, scrolling through apartment listings on my phone. Yesterday, they asked me to chip in for a bigger TV for their room. Their room? Cassandra nearly choked on her sandwich. Girl, please tell me you said no. I said I'd think about it. Then I called Regina and asked her to expedite the paperwork. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Power bill is higher than usual. Can you handle it before the weekend? Cassandra read the text over my shoulder and shook her head. They really have no idea, do they? Nope. I opened my banking app and scheduled the payment. One of the last bills I'd ever pay for that house. They think I'm their personal ATM with an endless supply of patience. That evening, I came home to find Kai and Flynn sprawled on the living room couch, surrounded by empty pizza boxes. My pizza boxes. From my freezer. Hey sis, Flynn called out. We're thinking of having some people over this weekend. You cool with that? I stepped over their mess. Sure, whatever you want. See? Flynn turned to Kai. Told you she's chill when she's not being weird about her office. I smiled and headed to the hallway table. My laptop was open to Regina's email. Buyers signed. Closing in 3 days. Final walkthrough tomorrow while occupants are home. Remember to act surprised. Right on cue, the doorbell rang. I'll get it, I called out, my heart racing. Probably just a delivery. Regina stood there with a clipboard, looking professional and stern. Good evening. I'm from Metropolitan Reality. We're doing a standard neighborhood assessment. May I come in? Flynn and Kai didn't even look up from their game. Dad was napping in his room. I led Regina through the house, watching her take notes and photos. Perfect, she whispered when we reached the kitchen. Buyers will be pleased. You're sure about this? I glanced at the living room, where Flynn was explaining to Kai how I'd probably buy them that TV if they played their cards right. Absolutely sure. Later that night, my phone lit up with a final text from Regina. Papers ready. Closing on Friday? Police will accompany new owners at 2 p.m. Suggest you be elsewhere. I looked around my hallway workspace, at the house I'd bought with such hope, at the family that had taken everything and called me selfish for wanting just one room to myself. Confirmed, I typed back. I'll be gone by noon. Another text came through, from Flynn. Hey, can you grab more pizza on your way home tomorrow? The good kind this time? I stared at his message for a long moment, then typed, Sure, whatever you want. 3 more days. Just 3 more days, and they'd learn what happens when you push someone too far. I closed my laptop and headed to my room, the smallest bedroom, because Flynn had claimed the master bedroom needed his gaming setup. As I passed my old office, I heard Kai and Flynn laughing about something. Don't worry, I whispered to myself. Laugh while you can. Friday's forecast calls for a major reality check. The storage unit I rented was small, but it was mine. No freeloading brothers, no entitled friends, no disapproving fathers, just clean, empty space waiting to be filled with the pieces of my life I wanted to keep. I started with photos of Mom. Those were non-negotiable. She died when I was 15, and sometimes I wondered if that's when everything started falling apart. Dad checked out emotionally. Flynn became the golden child who could do no wrong, and I became the responsible one. What are you doing? Flynn's voice made me jump. I quickly shoved the photo album under some papers. Just organizing, I said, gesturing to the stack of work documents I'd prepared as cover. Spring cleaning. He leaned against the hallway wall, watching me work. Remember when Mom used to make us clean our rooms every Sunday? Yeah, I said quietly. I remember. You're a lot like her sometimes, he said. And for a moment I saw a flash of my little brother, the one who used to follow me around, who'd crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. Then he ruined it, always nagging about cleaning and stuff. I forced a smile. Someone has to. Speaking of cleaning, he continued, Kai and I were thinking of repainting the office. You don't mind, right? Since you're not using it anymore anyway. My office. The one I'd painted myself in soft blues and grays. The one with the perfect morning light. Sure, I said. Whatever you want. He grinned and disappeared back into my former sanctuary. I heard Kai's voice. Told you she wouldn't care. I waited until they were absorbed in their game before slipping out to my car, driving to the storage unit with another box of essentials. Each trip felt like releasing a breath I'd been holding for years. That evening, Dad cornered me in the kitchen. The dishwasher's making that noise again. I'll call someone, I said automatically, reaching for my phone. Good. Oh, and Flynn mentioned you're okay with them repainting upstairs? I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. That's mature of you, he said, and for a second I thought he might actually praise me. You're finally learning to share. Your mother would be proud. The mention of Mom hit like a slap. Don't. Don't what? Don't use Mom to manipulate me. She wouldn't be proud of this situation. He drew himself up, offended. What situation? Family helping family? Is that what this is? I gestured around the kitchen. Because from where I'm standing, it looks more like family taking advantage of family. Oh, here we go again, he threw up his hands. Poor Vera, always the victim. You know, your brother and I were just saying the other day, you'd never survive without us. Who else would put up with your constant complaining? I heard laughter from upstairs. Flynn and Kai, probably planning what color to paint over my carefully chosen walls. Dad was still talking, something about gratitude and family obligations, but I'd stopped listening. My phone buzzed. A text from Regina. Paperwork processed. Keys cut. Everything on schedule for Friday. You're not even listening, Dad snapped. This is exactly your problem. You think you're better than us just because you pay a few bills. A few bills? Like the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, the repairs, their car payments, their phone plans, their lives. You're right, I said softly. I'm sorry. He blinked, thrown off by my easy agreement. Well, good. Then you'll stop this nonsense about the office? Of course, I smiled. They can paint it whatever color they want. Later, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat at my hallway table and opened my laptop. The email from my new landlord confirmed everything was ready. A small but sunny apartment near the coast, first month's rent paid, keys waiting. I pulled out Mom's old diary, the one thing I'd never let them near. The last entry, written just before she got sick, jumped out at me. Sometimes love means knowing when to walk away. My phone lit up with a group text from Flynn. Family meeting tomorrow night? Kai has some ideas for improving the house. Dad replied immediately. Excellent. Vera can take notes and handle the expenses. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my calendar and created an event for Friday at 2 p.m. Freedom. 3 more days of nodding and smiling. 3 more days of whatever you want. 3 more days until they learned that sometimes family doesn't help family. Sometimes family teaches family a lesson they'll never forget. I closed Mom's diary and whispered to the empty hallway. I hope you understand, Mom. Sometimes love means choosing yourself. The credit card notification popped up on my phone during a work meeting. $847 at GameStop. I hadn't been to GameStop in years. Everything okay? Cassandra whispered as I stared at my screen. We were sitting in the conference room, supposedly listening to quarterly projections. I showed her my phone. Her eyes widened. Oh, hell no. After the meeting, I drove home early, my hands tight on the steering wheel. The GameStop bags were still on the living room floor when I walked in. New console, 4 games, 2 controllers. Flynn! My voice echoed through the house. Get down here. He appeared at the top of the stairs, already defensive. What's your problem? I held up my phone. Want to explain this? Oh, that. He shrugged. I still had your card info saved from when you let me buy groceries. We needed something to do while job hunting. Job hunting? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. When's the last time either of you even looked at a job listing? We're networking, he said, like I was stupid for asking. Building connections. These things take time. And my credit card? You're good for it, he smirked. Besides, you owe me. I owe you? The room felt suddenly too small. For what exactly? For always being such a control freak. For making me feel bad about staying here. For I bought this house. My voice cracked. I pay for everything. Here we go again. Dad's voice came from behind me. He must have heard the shouting. Vera, why are you always trying to start fights? I turned to face him. Did you know about this? About Flynn using my credit card? Well, he needed... No. I cut him off. He didn't need anything. And you know what? Neither of you need my credit card anymore. I pulled out my phone and started canceling cards, removing payment methods, changing passwords. What are you doing? Flynn demanded. Adapting, I said, remembering their words from days ago. I'm good at that, remember? You can't just cut us off. Flynn's face was red now. We're family. Family doesn't steal, I said quietly. Family doesn't take advantage. Oh, grow up, Dad snapped. This is why you'll always be alone, Vera. You're too rigid, too selfish. Your mother would be... Don't. I held up my hand. Don't you dare bring Mom into this. I'll bring her into whatever I want. I'm your father. You're a leech, I said, the words falling like stones. Both of you are. Flynn stormed down the stairs. You know what? Keep your precious money. We don't need you. Right, Dad? Dad nodded, his face hard. She'll come crawling back when she realizes she has no one else. I looked at them both, my family, my blood, and felt nothing but cold certainty. You're right, I said softly. I don't have anyone else. But after Friday, I won't have you either. What's that supposed to mean? Flynn demanded. I smiled, thinking of the signed papers in my bag, of the keys being cut, of the police escort scheduled for Friday afternoon. Nothing, I said, just thinking out loud. I walked past them to my room, locked the door, and pulled out my phone. "It's done," I texted Cassandra. "Cards canceled. No going back now." "You okay?" she replied immediately. I looked around my small bedroom, at the boxes I'd quietly been packing, at the life I was systematically dismantling. "No," I typed back, "but I will be." That night, I heard them in the kitchen, their voices carrying through the vents. "She's bluffing," Flynn was saying. "Where would she even go?" "Nowhere," Dad replied confidently. "She needs us more than we need her. Always has." I pulled out the last photo I had of all of us together, taken the day I got the keys to this house. We were smiling, Dad's arm around my shoulders, Flynn giving a thumbs up. I'd been so proud, so sure this was the right thing to do. I struck a match and held it to the corner of the photo, watching as the flames ate away our fake smiles, our false unity. Then I flushed the ashes down the toilet. Tomorrow, I'd go to work like nothing had changed. I'd nod and smile and say, "Whatever you want," one last time. But in less than 48 hours, they'd learn exactly where I could go and exactly how wrong they were about who needed who. The final signatures felt surreal. I sat in Regina's office, watching as she notarized the last document. The house wasn't mine anymore. Just like that. "Congratulations," Regina said, sliding the papers into a folder. "You're officially free." My phone buzzed. Flynn asking where the spare key was. He'd locked himself out again. I ignored it. "The new owners will arrive tomorrow at 2 p.m. sharp," Regina continued. "Police escort is confirmed. Are you sure you don't want to be there?" I shook my head. "I've got other plans." Those plans involved a U-Haul truck, already loaded with the last of my belongings from the storage unit, and a coastal apartment waiting for me 3 hours away. But first, I had one last thing to do. I drove home. No, not home anymore, and parked in the driveway. Flynn's car was gone, probably out with Kai. Dad's TV droned from the living room. Perfect. I walked into the kitchen and pulled an envelope from my bag. Inside was a letter I'd written and rewritten a dozen times. "By the time you read this, I'll be gone. So will your right to live here. The house has been sold. The new owners arrive tomorrow at 2 p.m. with police escort. You have until then to pack your things. Don't bother trying to fight this. The sale is legal and final. Don't bother trying to find me either. By the time you realize what's happening, I'll be somewhere you can't reach. You taught me some valuable lessons about family. Here's one in return. Don't mistake kindness for weakness. Goodbye, Vera P.S. The GameStop purchases have been reported as fraud. Enjoy dealing with that, Flynn." I placed the envelope in the kitchen drawer where Dad kept his reading glasses, the one place I knew they'd look eventually. Then I walked through the house one last time. My old office still smelled of fresh paint. They'd covered my careful blue-gray with a garish orange. The gaming setup dominated the room, tangled cords everywhere. On my desk, my expensive, ergonomic desk, sat empty energy drink cans and half-eaten bags of chips. "Good riddance," I whispered. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. "The internet's acting up. Fix it when you get home." Home? Funny how that word had become a prison. I took one last thing from my room. Mom's old cookbook, the one with her handwritten notes in the margins. Everything else important was already gone. As I reached the front door, I heard Dad shift in his recliner. "That you, Vera?" "Yeah," I called back, my voice steady. "Just heading out." "When will you be back?" "The internet." "Later," I said, the last lie I'd ever tell him. "Don't wait up." I closed the door softly behind me. In my car, I pulled out my phone and typed a message to Cassandra. "It's done. Papers signed. Letter left. I'm heading out." "Drive safe," she replied. "And Vera, I'm proud of you." Those words, the ones I'd never heard from Dad, made my eyes blur. I wiped them quickly and started the car. My phone kept buzzing as I drove away. Flynn had found his spare key and was demanding I pick up groceries. Dad was still complaining about the internet. Kai had apparently texted to ask if I could Venmo him money for pizza. I pulled over at the first gas station I saw and bought a new phone. As I transferred my essential contacts, Cassandra, my work, my new landlord, I thought about all the times I'd jumped to answer their demands. The old phone kept lighting up with messages. I turned it off and dropped it in a trash can. Back in my car, I looked at the time, 4:30 p.m. In less than 24 hours, they'd be reading my letter. In less than 24 hours, their comfortable world of endless taking would implode. My new phone buzzed, Regina sending the final confirmation. All paperwork filed with county. New owners have keys. Everything set for tomorrow. I started the car and pulled onto the highway. The setting sun painted the sky orange, the same awful color they'd painted my office. But ahead of me, the horizon was a perfect, peaceful blue. Like my office used to be. Like my life would be again. I turned up the radio and pressed the gas pedal. Behind me, 3 people sat in my former house, absolutely certain of their power over me. Ahead of me stretched an open road and a future they'd never see coming. 21 and a half hours to go. The cafe's window seat gave me a perfect view of the ocean. I'd been here since opening, laptop open, pretending to work while actually watching the clock tick toward 2 p.m. My new phone buzzed. Cassandra had sent a link to a local news website's Facebook page. The headline made me choke on my latte. Police called to residents dispute. Family claims. Daughter sold house without warning. I clicked the link. There was a photo of my old house, a police car parked outside. The article was brief, mentioning a family dispute and legal property transfer. Another text from Cassandra. Girl, it's blowing up. Your brother's posting everywhere looking for you. I opened Facebook. Flynn's status update appeared at the top of my feed. Emergency. If anyone knows where my sister Vera is, please contact me immediately. She's had some kind of mental breakdown. Below it, dozens of comments. OMG, is she okay? What happened? Sending prayers. Dad had posted too. My daughter has made a terrible mistake. Please help us reach her. My phone started buzzing with messages from distant relatives and old acquaintances. I ignored them all. You okay? The barista asked, noticing my hands shaking as I set down my cup. Yeah, I smiled. Just watching some family drama unfold. Want to talk about it? I glanced at my phone. 2:17 p.m. now. Actually, yes. See that news article? That's my house. Well, it was my house until noon yesterday. Her eyes widened as she read the headline. Wait, you're the daughter they're talking about? The one and only. I showed her Flynn's Facebook post. They're making it sound like I had a breakdown. What they're not mentioning is how they took over my home office, stole my credit cards, and treated me like their personal bank for years. So you just sold the house out from under them? Legally, with proper paperwork and everything. I refreshed the news page. New comments were pouring in. Just spoke to Flynn. He and their dad are being forced out by the new owners. This is insane. Where will they go? How could she do this to her own family? The barista let out a low whistle. That's some professional-level revenge. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Dad. Against my better judgment, I played it. Vera, honey, please. I know we've had our differences, but this? The police are here. There are strangers in our home with paperwork. Your brother is crying. How could you do this to us? We're your family. We're all you have. Please come home and fix this. Please, sweetheart. We need you. My hands were shaking again, but for a different reason now. His voice. He sounded broken. For a moment, I was 15 again, watching him crumble after Mom died. Then I remembered. You'll never survive without us. I deleted the voicemail. Cassandra called. Are you watching this unfold? Flynn's friend Kai is live streaming from the front yard. I quickly found the stream. Kai was ranting into his phone camera. This is what happens when you trust crazy people. We're being kicked out. She's ruined everything. The camera panned to show Flynn sitting on the curb, head in his hands. Dad was arguing with a police officer, waving papers around. The new owners stood calmly by their car, waiting. "I can't believe you really did it," Cassandra said. "How do you feel?" I watched as Flynn finally stood up, walked to his car, and started throwing his gaming equipment inside. Honestly, I feel... My phone exploded with notifications. Someone had found my work email and shared it. Messages started pouring in. "How dare you? Your poor family. You heartless witch." But there were others too. "Good for you. Wish I had your courage. They had it coming." The barista brought me another latte on the house. "For the entertainment," she winked. On the live stream, the police were now supervising as Dad and Flynn packed their cars. Kai was still ranting, but he'd started throwing in phrases like, "I have nowhere to go," and dropping his Venmo handle. "Vera?" Cassandra was still waiting for my answer. "How do you feel?" I watched my family load their lives into their vehicles. Watched them realize exactly what it meant to lose everything. Watched them finally understand that actions have consequences. "I feel free," I said, and was surprised to find I meant it. I finally feel free. "Your story has gone viral," Cassandra announced, barging into my temporary apartment with her phone held high. "You're trending on Twitter as Shah House Revenge." It had been a week since the sale. I'd taken emergency vacation days from work, hiding out in my short-term rental while the internet exploded with opinions about my life. "Look at this TikTok," Cassandra continued, playing a video where a young woman recreated my story with dramatic captions. 5 million views. "Great," I muttered. "I'm a social media sensation." My phone rang. Another unknown number. I'd been getting calls from news outlets all week, wanting my side of the story. I declined the call. "Oh my God," Cassandra gasped, scrolling. "Flynn just posted a GoFundMe. Homeless due to sister's mental breakdown. Please help our family recover." I grabbed her phone. The campaign already had $3,000 in donations. The description painted me as an unstable person who'd betrayed her loving, supportive family. "Loving and supportive," I laughed. "That's rich coming from someone who stole my credit card." My laptop pinged with a new email. A recruiter for a tech company in a quiet coastal town 3 hours away. I'd applied months ago, almost forgotten about it. "We were impressed with your portfolio," the email read. "Would you be interested in a remote interview this week?" Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from an aunt I hadn't spoken to in years. "Your father is devastated. He's staying with your uncle. How could you be so cruel?" I blocked her number and opened Facebook. My timeline was flooded with relatives taking sides. "She worked herself to death for them. Family doesn't do this to family. They had it coming. She's clearly unstable. Your cousin Maria posted security footage," Cassandra said, showing me another video. It was from the day of the eviction. Flynn and Dad being escorted out by police while Kai screamed about injustice. "They're staying with Aunt Susan," I said, having heard through the grapevine. "She's always enabled Flynn anyway." "And Kai?" "Apparently he's sleeping on someone's couch. He started a job search hashtag. Hire Kai. It's not going well." My phone buzzed again. A voicemail from Dad. His 5th today. I played it on speaker. "Sweetheart, please. We've learned our lesson. Whatever we did to upset you, we're sorry. This isn't you. You're not vindictive like this. Come home. We can fix this." Cassandra snorted. "Now they want to fix things?" I deleted the voicemail and opened my email to respond to the recruiter. As I typed, another notification popped up. Someone had shared my story on Reddit's pro-revenge forum. The comments were overwhelming. "Queen behavior. They fucked around and found out. Best revenge story ever. This is what happens when you push someone too far. You're famous," Cassandra grinned. "I'm infamous." I corrected her. There's a difference. My laptop pinged again. An email from Flynn, his first direct contact. Hope you're happy. Dad's a mess. Aunt Susan's spare room is tiny. Kai had to sell his gaming setup. All because you couldn't handle sharing your precious house. You always were selfish. Don't bother coming to any family events anymore. You're dead to us. I forwarded the email to Cassandra without comment. Wow, she said, after reading it. Still your fault somehow. Amazing. The best part? I pulled up another email. Remember those fraudulent GameStop charges? The credit card company investigated. Flynn's being charged with credit card theft. Holy shit. Yeah. Turns out karma's not done with them yet. My phone lit up with one final voicemail. Dad again. His voice was different this time. Harder. I recorded a video for you. A proper response to what you've done. Everyone will see who you really are. The daughter who abandoned her family, who threw away everything her mother built. You'll regret this, Vera. You'll die alone. I set the phone down, hands shaking slightly. Hey, Cassandra said softly. You okay? I looked around the temporary apartment, at my boxes packed for the coast, at the laptop with the recruiter's email, at the new life waiting to begin. You know what? I picked up my phone and blocked Dad's number. I am okay. For the first time in years, I'm actually okay. Good, Cassandra smiled. Because there's another TikTok about you, and this one's set to Fighter by Christina Aguilera. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time since the sale. Show me. As we watched the video, my email notification chimed. The recruiter wanted to interview tomorrow. Sometimes karma works in mysterious ways. Sometimes it works through viral videos and credit card fraud investigations. And sometimes it works through a quiet job offer in a coastal town, far away from the chaos you've left behind. The coastal breeze carried the scent of salt and new beginnings as I set up my home office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the ocean. No gaming consoles or entitled brothers in sight. My phone buzzed, Cassandra sending another social media update. Dad's response video had finally dropped, but it wasn't having the effect he'd hoped. Have you watched it? She texted. No need, I replied. The comments tell me everything. They did. His attempt to paint me as an ungrateful daughter had backfired spectacularly when he accidentally revealed more about their behavior than he'd intended. We gave her everything, he'd apparently ranted. She had a whole hallway to work in. We only took her office because Flynn's friend needed it more. The internet had not been kind to that logic. My new desk chair, an exact replacement for the one Flynn and Kai had ruined, arrived just as my laptop chimed with a news alert. Someone had leaked Flynn's credit card fraud charges to a local news station. I opened the article. Man who claimed sister abandoned family, charged with credit card theft. My phone rang. Aunt Susan. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker while unpacking my books. Your brother's being prosecuted because of you. He could go to jail. Is that what you wanted? To destroy this family completely? I deleted the message and placed Mom's cookbook on my new kitchen shelf. Next to it, I set up a small frame. Not a family photo, but the receipt from my house sale. Below it, I'd written, "The price of freedom." Another text from Cassandra. OMG, Kai just posted a public apology. I found his post quickly. It had already gone viral. I need to come clean about the Harn House revenge story. We treated Vera horribly. We took advantage. We laughed about it. The gaming setup, the office, the credit cards. We thought it was funny to push her limits. We never thought she'd fight back. I'm homeless and jobless now, but I earned this. Vera, if you're reading this, I'm sorry. We all should be. The comments were flooding in. Finally, some accountability. Too little, too late. Hope this helps your job search, bro. It won't. My new work laptop pinged with a message from my team. They loved my remote setup and wanted me to lead a new project. No more hallway table. No more interruptions during client calls. The doorbell rang, my new neighbor bringing over a welcome basket. "I hope this isn't weird," she said, "but I saw your story online. You inspired me to leave my toxic marriage. Thank you." I accepted the basket, touched. "How are you doing now?" "Better," she smiled. "Much better." "You?" I glanced back at my peaceful, sunlit home office. Same. After she left, I opened my personal email one last time. There was a message from Dad, marked urgent. "I know you've seen my video. I know you're reading this. Your silence is childish and cruel. But I want you to know something. I found your mother's last letter, the one she wrote before she died. She wanted us to stay together, to be a family. You've betrayed her wishes. You've betrayed her memory. If you have any decency left, any love for her at all, you'll make this right." My hands didn't shake as I typed my response, my first and last reply to any of them. "Mom's last letter? You mean the one in her cookbook?" The one where she wrote, "My dearest Vera, never let anyone dim your light, not even family, especially not family." That letter? I have it right here. She knew, Dad. She knew you'd try to break me like you broke her. But here's the difference. I fought back. Don't contact me again. Don't twist her memory to serve your narrative. You lost your house, your power, and your punching bag all in one day. Live with it. P.S. Flynn's court date is next month. Good luck with that. I hit send, then blocked his email address. Outside my window, the ocean stretched endlessly. My phone buzzed with another work message. My team needed my input on something. Important, challenging work that I could do in peace. I opened my laptop and typed a quick update to my own social media. To everyone asking if I regret what I did, no. To everyone asking if I'm okay, yes. To everyone asking what happens next, watch me thrive. Below it, I added a photo of my new office, sunlit, organized, and completely mine. The caption read, "When they treat you like you're disposable, remind them you're the one holding the receipt." I hit post, turned off notifications, and got back to work. The ocean waves crashed outside, a steady rhythm of victory.
Hi, everyone. My name's Diana Mitchell, and I have a story to share, one that still makes my blood boil whenever I think about it. It's about my sister-in-law, Emma, and the time she tried to steal my house. I'm 32, a real estate agent in downtown Portland, and my husband Mark and I live in the most charming historic Victorian home you can imagine. The house, with its grand bay windows and wraparound porch, was a gift from his sweet grandmother, Rose. We've put our heart and soul into maintaining it, and every detail feels like it belongs to our story. You and Mark really hit the jackpot with this place, my mother-in-law said during Sunday dinner last month. Grandma Rose would be so happy to see how beautifully you've kept it. Well, some people just have all the luck, don't they? That was Emma, my sister-in-law, dropping her usual passive-aggressive remark while barely touching her plate. She's been like that since the day I met her, but I've learned to shrug it off. Actually, we've put a lot of work into it, I said, keeping my tone polite. Those renovations last summer nearly wiped out our savings. Must be nice to have savings to wipe out, Emma muttered, her fork stabbing aimlessly at her mashed potatoes. Her husband, Rick, as usual, sat there silently, his focus suddenly fixed on his plate. Later that evening, Diana, our close friend, cornered me in the kitchen. How do you deal with her constant jabs? I swear, every time I see Emma, she's either bragging about her future restaurant or complaining about how unfair life is. You should have heard her last week, I said while loading the dishwasher. She showed up unannounced and spent an hour ranting about how she would have graduated at the top of her culinary school class if her instructors hadn't sabotaged her. Oh, and she brought up suing them. Again. Seriously? Diana raised an eyebrow. Before I could answer, Mark walked in, looking annoyed. Babe, you won't believe what Emma just asked me. She wants us to host a dinner for her potential investors next week. Says she needs to showcase the neighborhood. I sighed. This is the third time she's mentioned these so-called investors. Has she even shown you a business plan? At least she's not camping out on our porch anymore, Mark said, chuckling nervously. She was doing that? Diana exclaimed. She told me she was taking pictures for her restaurant vision board. More like figuring out how to get us out, I muttered, shaking my head. The last time she was here, I caught her measuring our dining room. You're exaggerating, Mark said, though he didn't sound convinced. Am I? Yesterday, she sent me links to 3 cute starter homes she thought would be perfect for us. Little did I know how right I was, or how far Emma would go to get what she wanted. It all came to a head at the next family dinner. Emma showed up 2 hours late, practically buzzing with excitement, and she wasn't alone. Trailing behind her were 2 men in cheap suits who looked wildly out of place. Everyone, meet Mr. Johnson and Mr. Peters, Emma announced, clapping her hands. They're going to make my dreams come true. We see great potential in this location, Mr. Johnson said, scanning the living room as though he were mentally gutting it. What location? Mark asked, his brow furrowing. This one, silly. Emma beamed. Your house. Isn't it perfect? We're going to turn it into Emma's Place, the most exclusive restaurant in Portland. The room went silent. I nearly choked on my wine. Emma, I said, my voice measured. This is our home. We're not selling. Don't be so selfish, Diana, she snapped. This is my one chance. The investors are ready to move forward. We just need you to sell the house at a reasonable price. Family discount? Absolutely not. Mark stood up, his voice firm. Emma, you can't be serious, he continued. Mom, Dad, tell them. Tell them how this is my dream. Emma turned to her parents, tears already brimming in her eyes. Well, sweetie, maybe Diana and Mark could. Think about it. Their mom started hesitantly. Think about it. Are you kidding me? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That dinner was just the beginning. The next day, Emma was calling everyone in the family, spinning a dramatic tale about how I was crushing her dreams. My phone exploded with messages. Just heard what you're doing to poor Emma. Family should support family. Why can't you just help your sister-in-law? But that wasn't enough for Emma. She started showing up unannounced with investors. Sorry we had an appointment. She'd lie as a random stranger walked through my home snapping pictures. No, you didn't, I'd say, blocking the door. But Emma would just push past me with that fake sugary smile. Then things escalated. Last week, while showing a property to clients, my colleague stopped me. Hey, isn't that your sister-in-law? She asked, pointing to Emma outside, chatting up one of my regular clients. Later, I found out Emma had been spreading rumors that I was unstable and about to lose my real estate license. The final straw came yesterday when Diana called me, her voice tense. Diana, I overheard Emma at the cafe. These investors she's meeting? Something's off. One of them was talking about creative solutions to get you out. Get us out? What does that even mean? I don't know, Diana said. But she had this look in her eye. I've never seen her like this. That evening, I found our mailbox stuffed with restaurant flyers. Each one featured a photoshopped image of our house with a giant Emma's Place sign plastered on it. This has to stop, Mark said, holding up one of the flyers. I'll talk to her. Your sister keyed my car last week, Mark. Talking isn't going to fix this. You don't know it was her. She posted a TikTok about karma that same day, wearing the exact red coat I saw running from the driveway. It was clear Emma wasn't just being pushy anymore. She was becoming dangerous. After her harassment reached new heights, I hired Jake, a private investigator I'd worked with before. 2 days later, he called me. Mrs. Mitchell, those investors aren't investors. They're paying clients for a restaurant that doesn't exist. Your sister-in-law's been collecting $25,000 deposits from each of them. My hands started shaking. What? She's running a scam. Promises of VIP memberships, exclusive perks, it's all fake. I've got contracts listing your address as the location. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Rick, Emma's husband, asking to meet. An hour later, we sat in a quiet coffee shop. He slid a stack of papers across the table, his hands trembling. I found these in Emma's desk drawer. She's been forging Mark's signature on property documents. Oh my God, I whispered. There's more. Rick's voice cracked. She emptied our twins' college funds last month. When I confronted her, she said it was for business expenses. But I checked our accounts. Diana, she's got massive gambling debts. Dangerous people are involved. Before I could respond, my office called. Diana, someone's been calling your clients, telling them you're under investigation for fraud. We've already lost 3 major listings. That evening, our doorbell camera pinged. Emma was outside with 2 rough-looking men, pointing at our house. Just think about it, guys, she said, her voice carrying. Once we get rid of them, this place is all ours. I've got documents with my brother's signature already. Mark's face went pale. He stormed outside. What documents, Emma? The ones you forged. Emma's face froze. Mark, I can explain. Explain what? How you scammed innocent people. Tried to steal our house. Sabotaged Diana's career. She's lying to you. She's turning everyone against me. Mom and Dad. Mom and Dad will know everything tomorrow. Mark cut her off. Every scam. Every lie. Every penny you stole from Rick and the kids. The 2 men with Emma exchanged uneasy glances. You said this was legit, one growled. You said you had permits and everything. Emma's confidence cracked. Just give me 1 more week. I'll get your money back. You better, the other man said, stepping closer. Boss doesn't like being played. They left and Emma stood there, mascara streaked down her face. Mark, please, she sobbed. You have to help me. I'm your sister. No, I said, stepping forward. You lost the right to call yourself family when you tried to destroy ours. Leave, Emma, and don't come back. You'll regret this. She spat, her tears vanishing as quickly as they'd appeared. Then she stormed off. That night, Diana called me again. I've been gathering evidence, she said. I found 7 more people Emma scammed. They're all filing police reports. Good, I said, watching Emma's car disappear down the street. Because this ends now. Mark pulled me into a hug. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. It's not your fault, I said softly. But we're putting a stop to this, together. But her problems were just beginning. We had no idea how far things would spiral out of control for Emma. Within weeks, her investors started showing up at her house, demanding their money back. It turned out she had scammed over 20 people, each convinced they were buying exclusive ownership rights to Emma's place. You better have our money. A furious crowd shouted one morning as they gathered outside her house. We trusted you. The final straw came when debt collectors began harassing her kids at school. Rick finally snapped during their divorce hearing. She took everything, he confessed, his voice breaking. Even pawned the birthstone necklaces their grandmother left the kids. Then came the loan sharks. 2 men in sharp suits confronted Emma at her favorite cafe. Time's up, princess, one said loudly enough for the entire room to hear. Boss wants his $200,000 back now. That evening, Emma burst into our house, mascara streaking her face. Please, you have to help me. These people. They're dangerous. I made a mistake, okay? I'm sorry. I'll do anything. I crossed my arms. Like you were sorry when you tried to destroy my career, or when you stole your children's future. That was different. I was desperate, she wailed. Mark didn't even look up. Not my problem, he said coldly. Mark, please, I'm your sister. Not anymore. The final blow came when Emma's previous victims from Seattle found her through social media. They'd been tracking her for years, waiting to expose her. One day, at the grocery store, a woman confronted her. You stole my mother's retirement money, she said, her voice trembling with rage. Emma's perfectly curated world crumbled. Her investors turned out to be connected to a notorious local crime family, and they didn't take kindly to being scammed. The last I heard, Emma was washing dishes at a truck stop in Nevada, living in a dingy motel paid for by the week. Rick won full custody of the kids, and the police are still building their fraud case against her. Yesterday, Diana showed me Emma's latest social media post, a badly lit selfie in her stained waitress uniform. She left a snarky comment under one of my posts celebrating a real estate milestone. Must be nice to have everything handed to you. I couldn't help but laugh. Mark and I had just finished converting part of our home into a luxury bed and breakfast. The irony? It's more successful than Emma's imaginary restaurant ever could have been. Should we tell her? Mark asked, smirking at her bitter comment. Nah, I said, closing my laptop. Let her watch from her motel room while we live our best life. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was her last investor, now looking to buy our thriving B&B. Sorry, I said with a sweet smile. This place isn't for sale, but I heard there's a former chef looking for work in Nevada. Makes a mean bowl of bitterness. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well and letting karma do the rest. Emma wanted my house and my life so badly, she destroyed her own trying to take it. Now she gets to watch from afar as we thrive in the home she coveted, while she dodges debt collectors and serves coffee to truckers. As for me, I've learned that toxic people eventually poison themselves. You just have to stay out of the splash zone and let them fall. What about you? What would you do if a family member tried to destroy your life out of pure jealousy? Would you forgive them after seeing them hit rock bottom, or would you stand firm like I did and keep toxic people out of your life forever, even if they're family? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your experiences with toxic family members and how you handled them. If you enjoyed this story of karma and justice, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more real-life drama and revenge stories. Trust me, I've got plenty more where this came from. See you in the next video. Hi, everyone. I'm Olivia, and today I want to share how I dealt with my toxic in-laws. Trust me, this story will make your blood boil. It all started when my husband James and I finally achieved our dream. After 6 years of hard work and saving every penny, we bought a gorgeous home in Newport Beach. It wasn't perfect. The place needed some work, but the breathtaking ocean view made it worth every dollar. This is actually happening, I whispered to James as we signed the papers. He just squeezed my hand and smiled. Life was perfect. I ran my social media management business from a cozy home office overlooking the waves, while James thrived as a software engineer. For a while, it felt like we were living a dream. But then Emma, my sister-in-law, got engaged. Tyler's family has a summer home in the Hamptons, she bragged over Sunday dinner, but we're looking for something more permanent. That's when the visits started. My mother-in-law, Patricia, began showing up unannounced, always around sunset. This view is magnificent, she'd sigh dramatically. Emma would love raising her children here. You know, she's always dreamed of a coastal lifestyle. I would force a polite smile, but inside I was screaming. One day, Patricia brought Emma along, without warning. Emma strode into our bedroom like she owned the place. This would be perfect for a nursery, she said, gesturing to the walls. We could knock this one down. Excuse me, I cut in, my tone icy. This is our bedroom. Oh, I'm just dreaming, Emma replied with a sickly sweet smile. Mom, isn't this exactly what I've been looking for? The breaking point came at Sunday dinner at Patricia's house. James, darling, Patricia began, her voice dripping with fox sweetness. Your father always believed that family comes first, and now that Emma and Tyler are planning their future. Mom, what are you getting at? James asked, already weary. Well, your house would be perfect for them. The location, the view, it's exactly what they need. You and Olivia don't need all that space. Emma will have children soon, and... Wait a minute, I interrupted, struggling to keep my voice steady. Are you suggesting we sell our house to Emma? It's what's best for the family, Patricia said smoothly as though the matter was already settled. We'll make sure you get a fair price. There are plenty of lovely starter homes inland. Starter homes? I repeated, my voice rising. We're not starting anything. This is our forever home. Don't be selfish, Olivia. Emma chimed in, her tone laced with entitlement. Tyler and I deserve this. You can work from anywhere. I looked at James, waiting for him to back me up. He just sat there, staring at his plate. We're not selling our house, I said firmly, standing up. End of discussion. Patricia's smile vanished. Family should support family, Olivia, she said coldly. James, surely you understand that. The dinner ended with tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. But I knew this was only the beginning. After that, Patricia began calling James every day, crying about how he was breaking Emma's heart. Your father would have wanted you to help your sister, she'd say, her words expertly designed to guilt-trip him. One afternoon, as I was working in my office, I heard voices in our backyard. I looked out the window and saw Emma with 3 men holding measuring equipment. What are you doing in my backyard? I demanded, storming outside. Just getting some estimates for renovations. Emma said casually. The deck needs to be extended for entertaining. Get off my property. Now. Stop being so dramatic, she replied, rolling her eyes. This house will be ours soon anyway. But that wasn't even the worst of it. Emma started parking her Mercedes in our driveway every morning, claiming that street parking would damage her car. She'd even bring her friends over for impromptu tours of the house while I was working. Then the rumors started. Olivia, I heard you're closing your business because you're moving, one of my clients said during a call. Someone told me you've been scamming clients. It turned out Patricia was spreading lies around our tight-knit community. She told everyone we were selling because we couldn't afford the house and that my business was failing. She even hinted that I'd been falsifying client reports. One evening, our neighbor Sarah came by. Hey, I just wanted to ask about the open house this weekend, she said casually. What open house? I asked, confused. Patricia's been telling everyone you're listing the house. She even handed out flyers at the country club. I was shaking with anger when I confronted James that night. Your mother is trying to destroy my business and our reputation, I said, my voice trembling. She's just excited about Emma's future, James replied, running a hand through his hair. Excited? She's harassing us. Emma brings contractors to our house without permission. Your mother's spreading lies about my business. They're both acting like we're their personal doormats. James sighed, looking exhausted. Maybe we should at least consider it. I stared at him stunned. Consider what? Selling. She said she'd help us find a nice place closer to my work. It would be a shorter commute. Are you serious right now? I interrupted, my voice rising. After everything they've done. I just want peace in the family, James said quietly. Emma's always been sensitive, and Mom. Stop. Just stop. My voice broke as I spoke. This isn't about peace, James. It's about your mother controlling everyone's lives. And you're letting her. You don't understand, he said, his tone defensive. Family is complicated. No, James, I shot back. What I understand is that your mother and sister are bullies, and right now, you're choosing to enable them instead of standing up for your wife. The look on his face told me everything I needed to know. My husband, the man who was supposed to be my partner, was wavering. For the first time since we got married, I felt completely alone in this fight. That conversation was a turning point. Something wasn't adding up about the whole situation, and I knew I had to dig deeper. I started with James's cousin, Mike, who had mysteriously cut ties with the family years ago. I was wondering when you'd call, Mike said when I reached him. Let me guess. Patricia's trying to control your life too. She wants our house for Emma, I explained. Classic Patricia, Mike said bitterly. Did you know she forced my parents to sell their beach house to fund Emma's private school? Claimed they owed her because she helped with their mortgage once. It was all lies. That conversation opened a floodgate. Over the next few weeks, I quietly investigated, talking to estranged family members and piecing together the puzzle. What I uncovered was shocking. Your mother-in-law? Yeah, I know her, said Tyler's former business partner when I tracked him down. She's been pushing Tyler to buy property he can't afford. The guy's drowning in debt but keeps up appearances to please her. I hired a private investigator who discovered Tyler had taken out multiple high-interest loans. Even more disturbing, Emma's name was on loan applications for our house, dated before they even made their demands. They're planning to flip it, a realtor friend explained after reviewing the documents. The market value is triple what you paid because of the new development plans in the area. Then came the bombshell. I found James's father's old lawyer. Your husband never knew, the lawyer explained, handing me documents. Patricia didn't sacrifice anything for his education. John left a trust fund for both kids. She's been controlling that money for years, making them think they owe her everything. I was compiling all this evidence when our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chen, knocked on our door. Someone asked me to sign papers about your house yesterday, she said, holding out a clipboard. They said it was a neighborhood approval form for renovations. What papers? I asked, my stomach sinking. Property transfer documents, she said knowingly. I may be old, but I can still read. That woman, your mother-in-law, didn't know I used to work in real estate. My hands were shaking as I called James. Your mother tried to forge property documents. She's getting neighbors to sign fake renovation approvals. That's impossible, James said, his voice tinged with disbelief. You must be mistaken. I have proof, James, not just about this, about everything. Your college fund? It wasn't from her. Your dad left you that money. The silence on the other end was deafening. What are you talking about? He finally asked. Come home. Now, there's something you need to see. When James walked in and saw the dining room table covered with documents, the loan applications, trust fund papers, and forged documents, his face went pale. All these years, he whispered, picking up his father's trust fund statement. She made me feel like I owed her everything. That's when the front door burst open. Patricia stormed in, waving papers. I have the transfer documents right here. All we need is your signature. She froze when she saw what was on the table. How dare you go behind my back? She screeched, lunging for the documents. This is family business. You're right, Mom, James said, his voice ice cold. This is family business, and we're dealing with it right now. I didn't need to do anything after that. Once the truth came out, karma took care of the rest. A mysterious tip, definitely not from me, reached Tyler's investors about his fraudulent loans. Within weeks, his financial empire crumbled. The weddings postponed indefinitely, Emma announced on social media. 2 days later, Tyler was spotted leaving the country. This is all your fault, Emma screamed through our doorbell camera. You ruined everything. But that was just the beginning. Once Patricia's schemes were exposed, other family members started coming forward. Mike shared his story at the country club, Patricia's favorite haunt. Aunt Sarah revealed how Patricia had manipulated her out of her inheritance. The dominoes just kept falling. Did you hear? One neighbor whispered to another. Patricia Turner tried to forge property documents. I always knew something was off about her. The whispers followed Patricia everywhere. Her once coveted spot in the weekly tennis group suddenly disappeared. No room for new members, they said. Her charity board position was mysteriously restructured. The facade she'd worked so hard to maintain was crumbling, and everyone was starting to see her for who she truly was. James watched it all with a mixture of sadness and relief. I can't believe I almost lost you because of their manipulation, he said one evening as we sat on our new deck, the ocean breeze brushing past us. You didn't lose me, I said, squeezing his hand. You chose us. Emma's downfall, however, was far more spectacular. During an interview at a prestigious firm, she reportedly demanded the corner office right away because, as she put it, my family deserves the best. She didn't get the job, or the next one. Last I heard, she'd moved to a small town in Idaho, far from the life of privilege she'd once flaunted. Meanwhile, my business thrived. It turns out people love supporting someone who stands up to bullies. My client list doubled, then tripled. With the money we'd saved from the possibility of being forced out of our home, we invested in renovations instead. We built a sprawling new deck to enjoy the ocean view, expanded the kitchen, and even added a home theater. Every improvement was something Patricia and Emma had dreamed of claiming for themselves, now firmly and permanently ours. The real cherry on top, our housewarming party. We invited the entire community, along with all the family members Patricia had alienated over the years. The sunset that evening was spectacular, painting the ocean in shades of gold and crimson. To new beginnings, James said, raising his glass. We were surrounded by genuine friends and family, people who loved us for who we were, not what we could give them. As the party reached full swing, I caught a glimpse of a car parked down the street. Patricia and Emma. They hadn't been invited, of course, and they knew better than to crash. From their car, they watched in silence, unwelcome and unacknowledged. After a few minutes, they drove away, disappearing into the darkness while we celebrated in the light. You know what's funny? I said to James later that night, standing on our deck and looking out at the endless ocean. What's that? He asked, wrapping his arms around me. They wanted this house so badly, but they lost everything trying to take it, and all we did was stand our ground. James smiled, holding me close. No, babe. You stood your ground. You saved us both. It struck me then. Sometimes the best revenge isn't doing anything at all. It's simply refusing to give in to toxic people and letting their own actions become their downfall. What would you have done if your spouse started wavering under family pressure? Would you have fought alone, like I did, or given in to keep the peace? Because at the end of the day, it's not just about a house. It's about standing up to manipulation and refusing to let toxic people control your life. I chose to fight. It cost me months of stress, but it saved my marriage and, more importantly, my self-respect. Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story of standing up to entitled in-laws, hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming toxic relationships and reclaiming your power. The conference room felt oppressive as I stared at the spreadsheet on my laptop, the numbers blurring together in a haze of exhaustion and frustration. For a decade, Palmer Tech had been my life, a legacy I poured everything into after Dad passed away. I thought I was preserving his dream, keeping it alive with my sister Sarah. I thought we were in this together. Elena? Sarah's voice cut through the fog of my concentration. I looked up to see her leaning against the doorframe, perfectly polished in her designer suit, her lips curled into a smirk. "We need to talk," she said. I shut my laptop, forcing a smile. "Of course. What's on your mind?" She stepped into the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor like a countdown. "I heard about your meeting with Quantum Industries yesterday," she said, her tone dripping with mock innocence. "Planning to sell the company?" My chest tightened. The meeting was confidential, something even the board hadn't been briefed on yet. "How do you know about that?" Sarah laughed, sharp and cold. "Oh, Elena, do you really think you can make moves like that without me knowing? I have eyes and ears everywhere in this building. But here's the thing, you can't sell the company." I stood, forcing my shaky legs to hold steady. "Actually, as CEO and majority shareholder, I—" "Wrong," she interrupted, pulling a sleek folder from her designer bag. "While you were busy honoring Dad's legacy," she said, her manicured fingers forming air quotes, "I was busy securing my own." She slid the folder across the table. My hands trembled as I opened it, revealing stock certificates and transfer documents. My stomach churned as I realized what they meant. Sarah had been quietly buying out minor shareholders, amassing a controlling interest in the company. "I own 51% of Palmer Tech now," she said, her voice dripping with triumph. "Surprise, big sister." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. "Why would you do this, Sarah?" "Why?" Her expression hardened. "Because I'm tired of being in your shadow. Dad's perfect hair gets the CEO title while I'm left with scraps. Please." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper. "This isn't about the company's future, Elena. It's about me finally having control." "This isn't what Dad would have wanted," I said, my voice trembling but firm. "He built this company to help people, to make a difference. And now I'll decide how it makes a difference," she snapped. "Oh, and clear out your office by Friday. The board will vote on new leadership, and guess who holds the deciding vote?" She sauntered out, her heels echoing like a victory march. I sat back down, staring at the folder that felt heavier than it had any right to. Sarah thought she'd won, but Dad had taught me better. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number I'd memorized weeks ago. "Mr. Chen, it's Elena. Remember that contingency plan we discussed? It's time to put it into motion." Sarah thought she understood this company, understood me, but she didn't know about Dad's hidden safeguards or the lengths I'd go to protect his legacy. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's the story of how I fought back, and it's far from over. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper and an old USB drive. My hands trembled as I unfolded the letter, Maya leaning in close beside me. "My dearest Elena," it began, written in Dad's familiar, steady handwriting. "If you're reading this, then something has happened that threatens the company. I always hoped this day wouldn't come, but hope alone isn't enough. You need to prepare for the worst while striving for the best." I glanced at Maya, who was reading over my shoulder, her brow furrowed in concentration. I turned back to the letter. "When I founded Palmer Tech, I vowed that it would always stand for innovation, integrity, and most importantly, the people who make it thrive. I watched you grow into a leader who embodies these values, but I also seen shadows, discord, and ambition that could divide and destroy everything we've built. On this USB drive, you'll find documents detailing the true ownership of Palmer Tech's most valuable patents and intellectual property. While the company trades publicly, its core technology, what truly makes it valuable, is held in a separate trust. This trust activates under specific conditions and names one trustee, you, Elena." I froze, the words sinking in. "This means Maya started, her legal instincts already engaged. Keep reading, I whispered, my voice shaking. Anyone can buy shares of Palmer Tech, but without control of these patents, they're left with nothing but an empty shell. I structured it this way to safeguard against hostile takeovers. The trust activates if anyone other than you claims majority control of the company's shares. I'm sorry if this creates tension within the family. Nothing would have made me happier than seeing my daughters united, working together. But I've seen how power can corrupt and ambition can blind. Elena, this trust places the future of Palmer Tech in your hands. Use this power wisely. True leadership isn't about domination. It's about guidance, support, and vision. Love, Dad. I leaned back in my chair, stunned. Maya was already pulling her laptop out of her bag. Let me see the USB drive, she said urgently. For the next 2 hours, we pored over the documents. Dad had been meticulous. Every patent, every trade secret was secured in the trust, with airtight legal protections filed across multiple jurisdictions. Elena, Maya said, her voice steady but intense, this changes everything. Sarah may own 51% of the shares. But without these patents, Palmer Tech is nothing more than an empty name and a few office buildings. Before I could respond, a knock at the door made us both jump. It was Mr. Chen, looking calm but resolute. I see you've opened the envelope, he said, glancing at the spread of papers on my desk. You knew about this? I asked, suspicion creeping into my voice. He nodded. Your father named me the executor of the trust. I've been waiting for this moment. When you called about the share transfers, I knew it was time. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Your father insisted you discover it on your own when the stakes were highest. He believed that power unveiled in crisis would be wielded more responsibly than power granted freely. I stood and walked to the window, staring out at the city skyline. Palmer Tech's logo glowed brightly against the night. Sarah's going to be livid, I murmured. She already is, Mr. Chen said. The question is, how will you respond? Before I could answer, the door burst open, and Sarah stormed in, flanked by her legal team. Elena, she snapped. What is this? The board just got wind of some trust claiming ownership of the patents. What did you do? I met her furious gaze, feeling a surprising calm wash over me. This isn't something I did, Sarah. It's something Dad did, to protect the company. Her face reddened with anger. This is just another one of your schemes to keep me out, to make sure I never step out of your shadow. Sarah, this isn't about me or you, it's about Palmer Tech. Dad wanted us to work together. She scoffed, turning to her lawyers. We'll tear this apart. One of them cleared his throat, his face pale. Miss Palmer, it's ironclad. The patents are legally secured in the trusts, and your father ensured they couldn't be contested. Sarah faltered, the weight of the realization hitting her. For a moment, her rage gave way to something deeper, hurt, maybe even regret. Sarah, I said softly, stepping closer, this doesn't have to be a fight. Dad left us both something valuable. He trusted me with the patents, but he trusted you with the shares. Maybe he wanted us to figure this out together. Her expression hardened. Work together. After this, why should I trust you? I hesitated, then said quietly, because we're sisters. And because despite everything, I know you care about this company as much as I do. The room was silent, save for the muffled hum of the city below. Finally, Sarah's shoulders slumped, the fire in her eyes dimming. What are you proposing? Maya stepped forward, holding a draft proposal. If I may, I've outlined a plan that would allow both of you to lead, leveraging your unique strengths while protecting the company's integrity. Sarah glanced at the document, then at me. This doesn't mean I trust you, she said, her voice tinged with lingering resentment. I know, I replied, but maybe it's a start. As Maya outlined the plan, I watched Sarah's expression shift, anger giving way to cautious consideration. This wasn't the end of our challenges, but it felt like the beginning of something new. Dad's legacy wasn't just a company, it was a lesson. A challenge for us to rise above our differences and build something stronger together. 3 months later, I found myself back in the same conference room where everything had started. The sunlight poured through the tall windows, casting a golden glow over the neatly arranged spreadsheets and presentation slides. To my right, Maya was going through our notes one last time, her calm presence a steadying force. Across the table, Sarah sat poised, looking every bit the professional, yet with a softness I hadn't noticed before. Are we ready? she asked, glancing at her watch. The board will be here in 10 minutes. I nodded, a mix of nerves and cautious optimism buzzing in my chest. As ready as we'll ever be. Did you finalize the projections for the new division? She slid a folder across the table with a smirk that carried the faintest echo of our old rivalry. You know I'm always prepared. I chuckled, surprised by how much lighter the banter felt. The last few months had been grueling. Late nights, intense debates, and more than a few moments when we questioned whether we could ever find common ground. But somehow, through Maya's guidance and sheer determination, we'd restructured Palmer Tech into something that reflected both our visions. Maya's plan was genius in its simplicity. Divide the company into complementary divisions. I would remain CEO, overseeing research and development to honor Dad's technological legacy, while Sarah took the reins as president of operations and strategy, driving the business expansion she'd always dreamed of. The board's here, Maya announced, gathering her papers. Time to shine. As the board members filed in, I caught Sarah's eye. She gave me a small nod. Our unspoken promise that we had each other's backs. It had taken countless therapy sessions, brutally honest conversations, and more than a few tears to get to this point. But for the first time, we were more than just reluctant collaborators. We were sisters again. Good morning, everyone. I began, rising to address the room. Today, Sarah and I are proud to present a new direction for Palmer Tech. A vision that marries innovation with expansion, blending our strengths to build a stronger future. The presentation flowed seamlessly, Sarah and I alternating sections like a well-rehearsed team. We outlined our plans for international growth, groundbreaking research, and a governance structure that reflected transparency and collaboration. The board members leaned forward, engaged, their skepticism melting away with each slide. This is extraordinary, said James Anderson, the board's senior member. When the shared dispute erupted 3 months ago, I feared the worst. But what you've accomplished here is remarkable. It's exactly what Thomas Palmer would have wanted. Sarah's grip on her pen tightened at the mention of Dad, but her voice remained steady. We've come to understand more about what Dad truly wanted, not just for the company, but for us. As the meeting wrapped up and the board members departed with enthusiastic congratulations, Sarah and I lingered. The silence between us felt natural now, not charged with tension like before. Remember when we used to play office in Dad's study? Sarah asked suddenly, gazing out the window. You were always the boss. I laughed softly, and you always argued about it. You were right, though. It wasn't fair. She turned to me, her expression thoughtful. Neither was what I did. Buying up shares behind your back, trying to take over. I was so focused on what I thought I deserved that I couldn't see what you were trying to protect. And what was that? Dad's legacy. You weren't fighting me, you were fighting for him. I just couldn't see it then. I joined her at the window, where the Palmer Tech logo gleamed on the building across the street. I found an old photo album in Dad's study last week, I said, pulling up a picture on my phone. It showed 2 little girls in oversized business suits, barely containing their giggles as they sat at Dad's desk. Sarah smiled, her eyes softening. I remember that day. Dad let us sit in on a board meeting for 5 whole minutes before he kicked us out. We thought we were so grown up. Well, I said, I think we finally are. The door opened and Maya popped her head in. Elena, your R&D team is waiting. Sarah, the strategic planning committee is in conference room B. Dewey called, but before we parted, Sarah touched my arm. Elena, thank you for giving me a second chance. I squeezed her hand. That's what big sisters are for. Later that evening, I found a note on my desk in Sarah's handwriting. Dinner tonight? Dad's favorite Italian place. My treat. Let's celebrate our first board meeting as partners. I smiled, replying, only if we split the bill. Partners, remember? Her response came quickly. Deal. But I'm ordering the expensive wine. Sharing, right? As I packed up, I glanced at the photo of Dad on my wall. You knew, didn't you? I whispered. You knew we'd figure it out, just not without a fight. That evening, over wine and laughter, Sarah and I talked about everything. Childhood memories, our plans for the company, and dreams for the future. Somewhere between the pasta and dessert, I realized this was the real legacy Dad had left us. The chance to rediscover each other and build something stronger together. To Dad, Sarah said, raising her glass. For being smarter than the both of us. And to us, I added, clinking my glass against hers. For finally figuring it out. Hi, I'm Harper. Life seemed perfect until someone decided to light a match near the gasoline that was my world. 3 months ago, I was busy preparing for my kids' birthday party. Yes, my kids, because that's exactly what Tommy and Sarah are to me, no matter what my dear sister-in-law Sharon thinks. Mom, can we have chocolate and vanilla cake? Sarah tugged at my apron as I hung streamers across the living room. Her big brown eyes could melt even the hardest heart. Already ordered, princess, I assured her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Your brother specifically requested that chocolate volcano cake you two loved last year. Did someone say volcano cake? Tommy's head popped around the corner with impeccable timing. For a 12-year-old, he had a sixth sense for dessert-related conversations. Back to your homework, young man, I said with mock sternness. The party's tomorrow, and I don't want any unfinished assignments hanging over our heads. But Mom. No buts. I promise it'll be worth the wait. Just then, Mark, my husband, walked in and wrapped his arms around me from behind. Need any help, honey? James just called. He's bringing those extra tables we needed. Your brother is a lifesaver, I said, muttering under my breath, unlike some people we know. Mark chuckled, catching my tone. Sharon RSVP'd, didn't she? Oh yes. With her usual passive-aggressive message about how she's so glad to be included in her niece and nephew's special day. I rolled my eyes, recalling her text. Linda, my best friend since college, burst through the front door just then, her arms loaded with party supplies. The party fairy has arrived, she declared dramatically. And guess what? I bring gossip. You'll never guess who I just saw at the mall having a full-on meltdown over a return dress. Please tell me it wasn't Sharon, I groaned. Oh, it was, Linda replied with a grin, complete with demands to speak to the manager. I shouldn't have enjoyed the story as much as I did, but after 5 years of Sharon's snide comments about me playing house with her brother's family, I figured I'd earned a little schadenfreude. The truth was, I met Mark when Tommy and Sarah were 3 and 4. Their biological mother had walked out of their lives without a backward glance. I fell in love with all 3 of them, and 2 years later, we made it official, with both a marriage and an adoption. But Sharon never forgave me for replacing their real mom, as she liked to call it. Never mind that their real mom sent birthday cards 6 months late, if she remembered at all. Earth to Harper, Linda said, waving a hand in front of my face. Where should I put these streamers? Sorry, just thinking about tomorrow, I said, shaking myself out of my thoughts. The kids wanted the game corner over there, and the gift table by the window. It's going to be perfect, Mark said, squeezing my shoulder. The kids are excited. James is handling the entertainment, and Linda's got the decorations covered. And Sharon? Linda raised an eyebrow. Sharon will behave, Mark said firmly, or she'll leave early. These are my kids' birthdays, and I won't let anyone ruin it. If only we'd known what she was planning. But storms often strike when the skies seem clearest. The party was perfect, for a while. Tommy and Sarah were surrounded by friends. The volcano cake erupted right on cue, and even Sharon seemed to be on her best behavior. I should have known it wouldn't last. Present time, Sarah announced, bouncing in her seat. Tommy tried to play it cool, but I saw the excitement in his eyes. They always opened gifts together, taking turns. This one's from Aunt Sharon, Tommy read aloud, reaching for a large envelope. Sharon stepped forward, that dreaded smile spreading across her face. Actually, she said, her voice dripping with false sincerity, I have something special to share first. Children, I think you're old enough to know the truth about your real mother. The room went silent. My heart stopped. She didn't abandon you like they told you, Sharon continued. I've been in touch with her, and she misses you both so much. She even has pictures to prove it. She pulled out a stack of photos, and I watched in horror as Tommy and Sarah's faces shifted from confusion to shock. Sarah's lip trembled. That's enough, Mark's voice boomed, cutting through the silence. Sharon outside. Now. They deserve to know, Sharon shot back. Harper's been playing pretend mom long enough. Linda quickly ushered the other kids into another room, while James stepped between Sharon and my children. But Mom, Tommy's voice cracked, tears pooling in his eyes. You said she left us. She did, sweetheart, I said gently, my own voice shaking. Your aunt isn't. I have proof. Sharon interrupted, waving a stack of papers, letters, and photos triumphantly. She writes to me about them all the time. Mark's hand shot out, gripping Sharon's arm as he practically dragged her toward the door. How dare you, at their birthday party? Get out! They're not your children. Sharon shrieked, her face red with fury as Mark pushed her outside. They'll never be yours. Sarah burst into tears and bolted upstairs. Tommy sat frozen, staring at the scattered photos on the floor. Pictures I'd never seen before of a woman who had walked out of their lives 8 years ago. Tommy, I reached for him, but he flinched away. Is it true? He asked, his voice trembling. Have you been lying? No, baby, I whispered, fighting back tears. I've never lied to you. Your birth mother did leave, but that doesn't change. I want to be alone. He stood abruptly and followed his sister upstairs, leaving me alone in the wreckage, a room filled with half-opened presents, torn streamers, and the hushed whispers of concerned parents. Linda wrapped her arms around me as James helped Mark deal with Sharon outside. Through the window, I could hear the heated exchange. She's been writing to them this whole time. Mark's voice cracked with disbelief. They deserve to know. Sharon shouted back, You can't keep playing happy family forever. The party dissolved after that. Parents hurried their children out with awkward apologies, leaving me in a house that felt unbearably empty despite the lingering decorations. Upstairs, the muffled sound of my children crying cut through me like a knife. Something inside me hardened. Sharon hadn't just ruined a party, she tried to destroy my family. And for that, there would be consequences. 2 weeks later, I sat at Linda's kitchen table, surrounded by a mountain of evidence. Printouts of Sharon's social media history, email threads, and screenshots cluttered the space. Look at this, Linda said, pointing to a post from 3 years ago. She's been tagging their birth mother in comments since before your adoption was finalized. My hands shook as I sifted through the messages. 8 years of calculated manipulation unraveled before me. James walked in carrying a thick folder. You need to see this, he said grimly. I found Sharon's old laptop while cleaning Mom's attic. He spread out emails showing Sharon's desperate attempts to locate the kid's birth mother. She hired a private investigator 2 months before your wedding, James continued. She's been planning this for years. My phone buzzed. Another message from Sharon in the family group chat. I only told them the truth. Stop keeping them from their mother. Don't respond, Linda warned, but James was already dialing. Sharon enough, he snapped. You want the truth. Here it is. You've been jealous of Harper since day one. Remember when you tried to set Mark up with your coworker at Christmas? That was different. Sharon protested. I was just trying to. To what? Break up a happy family. James interrupted. Those kids were finally healing. I tuned out their argument, my attention drawn to an email thread on the laptop. Sharon had found the kid's birth mother 6 months ago. The response made my blood boil. Please stop contacting me. I signed away my rights for a reason. I don't want to be involved. But Sharon hadn't stopped. She'd kept pushing. The kids were at their first therapy session with Dr. Phillips after Tommy refused to come down for dinner 3 days in a row. Mark called during the session. Harper, his voice was heavy. Tommy talked today. He asked about the adoption papers. Wants to see them. Of course, I said, my throat tight. Is Sarah okay? She asked if she has to call you Mom anymore. Mark said, his voice cracking. And Sharon's outside the therapist's office. She says she has more evidence to share. I grabbed my keys, but James stopped me. I got this. Linda, show her what we found about the restraining order. What restraining order? I asked, startled. Linda pulled up another document from her ex-husband. Apparently, Sharon's done this before, tried to turn his kids against their stepmom. It's all part of a pattern. Everything clicked into place. This wasn't just about me or my kids. This was Sharon's crusade against any woman who dared to love children that weren't biologically theirs. My phone chimed again. Another message from Sharon. You'll never be their real mother. I'll make sure they know everything. I stared at the growing pile of evidence, feeling a cold smile spread across my face. No, Sharon. They're going to know everything about you. Sunday dinner at Mark's parents' house was tense. Sharon arrived with her usual smug confidence. which faltered when she saw the laptop and projector set up in the living room. "What's this?" she asked, her voice uncertain. "Sit down, Sharon," Mark's father said, his tone leaving no room for argument. "We've seen everything," James said, clicking through the presentation. Emails, social media posts, the restraining order, her persistent messages to the kid's birth mother, 8 years of manipulation laid bare. Those are private." Sharon lunged for the laptop. "Like my children's therapy sessions were private before you followed them there," I said, my voice steady and cold. "I was protecting them," I said firmly. Mark's mother held up a printed email, the one from Julie, the kid's birth mother. "From what?" "A woman who repeatedly told you to stop contacting her." Sharon's face twisted with defiance. "She changed her mind. She wants." "No, I don't." A new voice came from the doorway, and the entire room turned. James had done what Sharon never could. He'd actually contacted Julie. She stood there, looking uncomfortable but determined. "I chose to leave. I signed away my rights. These children have a mother. Her name is Harper." Sharon went pale. "But you said—" "I never said anything to you," Julie interrupted, her tone sharp. "You invented this entire narrative." Julie turned to me, her expression softening. "I'm so sorry for all of this. You've given them everything I couldn't." From the staircase, Tommy and Sarah slowly came into view. Their eyes were wide with curiosity and uncertainty. "Is it true?" Tommy asked Julie, his voice small. "You really didn't want to come back?" "No, I didn't," Julie said gently. "But you have a mom who loves you more than anything. Don't let anyone tell you differently." Sarah walked straight to me, wrapping her arms tightly around my waist. "We know who our mom is," she whispered. Sharon started to cry. "I was trying to help. The children needed." "The only thing these children needed was for you to leave them alone," Mark's father said, his voice stern. "Until you get professional help, you're not welcome at family events." "But they're my family too," Sharon wailed. "Not anymore," Mark said firmly. "Get help, Sharon. Real help." 3 months later, we celebrated the kids' half-birthday, a new tradition born out of the chaos. Tommy hung his latest art project on the fridge, a colorful family portrait, while Sarah worked on her speech for Adoption Awareness Day at school. Proud to tell her story, Mark said, watching her from the kitchen. Sharon's social circle had crumbled after the truth came out. Her church group, the school board she tried to influence, even her workplace, none of them wanted anything to do with someone who had traumatized children for her own agenda. "Mom," Sarah called. "Can you help me practice my speech?" "Coming, sweetheart," I replied. She beamed as I entered the room. "It's about how family is about love, not blood." Tommy helped me write it. I pulled them both into a hug, feeling the strength of our bond. It was stronger now, tested and tempered by everything we'd endured. Later that evening, Linda and James came over for our weekly dinner with Mark's parents. Julie had sent a thoughtful card, affirming the kids' choice to embrace their adoptive family fully. As for Sharon, last we heard, she'd moved to another state. Sometimes healing means letting go, not just for us, but for her too. But this story isn't about Sharon anymore. It's about a family that chose each other, weathered the storm, and came out stronger. Hi everyone, I'm Anna, a 28-year-old marketing executive living in Chicago. What I'm about to share still gives me chills. Living just 15 minutes away from my sister Emma's house meant we saw each other often, maybe too often to ignore the warning signs. We'd always been close, despite the 4-year age gap, but things changed after she married Marcus. "You look exhausted, Em. Everything okay?" I asked during one of our weekly coffee meetups. "Just working, the usual stuff with the fertility treatments." "Has Marcus been supportive?" She hesitated, her eyes dropping. "He's trying. He really wants a baby." Her tone said more than her words. I'd seen Marcus, Mr. Successful real estate developer, treat her differently when he thought no one was looking, like that dinner last month at their house. "Emma, where's my blue tie?" "The canali one." I think it's still at the dry cleaners." "You think? I need it for tomorrow's meeting." "How hard is it to handle simple tasks?" I watched my sister shrink into herself and my blood boiled. But I'd learned the hard way that speaking up only made things worse. "Mom's worried about you," I told her over lunch a week later. She says you barely visit anymore. Marcus likes me to be home when he gets back from work, she said softly, pushing a salad leaf around her plate. And we're trying to save money for the treatments. Save money? You inherited $500,000 from Grandma last year. Her silence was deafening. Even my best friend Diane, a private investigator, noticed. One night, as we sipped wine at my apartment, she brought it up. Anna, I don't want to overstep, but something's off with Marcus. The way he tracks Emma's spending and whereabouts. I know, I sighed. Did you see how he reacted when she wanted to go to Miami for Jane's bachelor party? Yeah. Suddenly their joint account had suspicious activity, and her cards were frozen. Convenient timing. The worst moment came at our parents' house last Sunday. Emma mentioned wanting to take a break from fertility treatments. We're not stopping, Marcus said firmly. My brother just had his second kid. My parents expect a grandchild. But the doctor suggested waiting, Emma replied. The doctor doesn't understand how important this is. We're continuing. End of discussion. Mom tried changing the subject, but Dad's face said it all. He was seeing what I'd been seeing. Later that night, Emma texted me, sorry about dinner. Marcus is under a lot of pressure at work. Always excuses, always justifications. Meanwhile, Marcus was buying designer watches while Emma used expired grocery coupons. She's different, Mom said during our weekly shopping trip. She doesn't laugh like she used to. I know, Mom, I know. What they didn't know was that I'd started keeping a diary of every incident, every red flag. Not because I was nosy, but because something in my gut told me I'd need it someday. And I was right. You're absolutely sure? I asked, my voice trembling. Yes, Miss Parker, you're 8 weeks pregnant. The doctor's words echoed in my head. James, my James, had been gone just 3 weeks. That awful accident had taken him, and now, this. I needed my sister more than ever. Driving to Emma's house that evening, my hands trembled on the steering wheel. As I parked outside their 3-story brownstone, I heard shouting through a partially open window. Another negative test. Are you even trying anymore? Marcus, please. The doctor said stress makes it harder. Don't give me that. My sister-in-law got pregnant on her first try. I hesitated, then rang the doorbell. The shouting stopped abruptly. Emma opened the door, her eyes red and puffy. Anna, I didn't expect you. Bad timing. I can come back. No, come in. Marcus appeared behind her, his jaw clenched. We were just discussing private matters, he said curtly. I followed them into the living room, my news burning in my throat. Maybe I should have waited, but I needed my sister. I actually have something to tell you both, I said, my voice shaking. I'm pregnant. The room fell deadly silent. Emma's face lit up for a brief moment before her eyes darted nervously to Marcus. His face turned an ugly shade of red. Pregnant by who? He sneered. That deadbeat boyfriend who couldn't even drive properly. Don't you dare talk about James like that. Or what? You'll raise another failure like him? Perfect. The unemployed single mother and her bastard. Marcus. Emma gasped, horrified. Tears blurred my vision as I turned to leave, but Marcus wasn't done. He followed me into the hallway, still ranting. You think you can just waltz in here, flaunting your pregnancy while Emma? This isn't about Emma. This is about you and your ego. I was halfway up the stairs when I felt his hand on my shoulder. The push was deliberate. No one could call it an accident. Emma's horrified face was the last thing I saw before everything went black. I woke to the steady beeping of machines and my mother's tear-streaked face. The baby? I croaked. It's fine, sweetheart. You both got lucky. The detective came later. Miss Parker, your sister's statement suggests it was an accident. It wasn't. He pushed me. Mr. Reynolds claims you were distraught about your ex-boyfriend's death and tripped. That's not what happened. But Marcus had friends in high places. The hospital report mysteriously emphasized my emotionally fragile state. His lawyer spun a narrative, and even the detective began hinting I might be confused. Emma visited once, trembling like a leaf. Anna, I'm so sorry. Maybe you were upset and lost your balance. You saw what happened, Emma. You were there. Marcus says, if I don't support his version, he'll contest my inheritance. I can't. I'm sorry. I watched her leave, choosing her abuser over the truth. That was when I knew no one was going to help me. I needed to make him pay on my own. We need to find something concrete. Diane said, spreading documents across my coffee table. His first wife moved to Seattle, changed her name, she continued. Took me 3 days to track her down. Did you talk to her? Better. I got copies of her hospital records and police reports. 3 accidental falls in 2 years of marriage. Sound familiar? I rubbed my still healing ribs. He's got the police in his pocket here. We need more. My phone buzzed. It was Emma. Anna, he's getting worse. Yesterday he threw a glass at the wall because I bought the wrong wine. Document everything, I texted back. Times, dates, photos. Send them to my private email, not your regular one. Diane's laptop pinged. Anna, look at this. Marcus's company, Reynolds Development, was taking loans from shady lenders with astronomical interest rates. Wait, I scrolled through Emma's bank statements, which she'd secretly forwarded to me. These withdrawals match the dates of his loan payments. He's using her inheritance. That's not all, Diane said, pulling up surveillance photos. See this woman? Catherine Mills. She's the wife of his business partner. Recognition dawned. Mills? The guy funding their new downtown project? Yep. Guess who's about to pull out? Turns out Mrs. Mills isn't so discreet with her phone messages. My phone buzzed again. Emma sobbing. The bank called about a second mortgage. I never signed anything. Take pictures of every document you find, I told her. Everything. Diane whistled low, staring at her screen. Those loans, they're coming due. All of them. And his new projects aren't selling. The market's turning. Later that week, Emma sent me a video she'd secretly recorded. You stupid. Marcus's voice crackled through the phone. You told him about the mortgage, didn't you? No, I swear, Marcus, please, put down the sound of shattering glass made me flinch. Send that to your private cloud account, I texted back. And Emma, pack an emergency bag. Just in case. Diane had more news. His company's hemorrhaging money. 3 contractors filed liens this morning. And those loan sharks? They're getting impatient. I watched through Emma's kitchen window during a family dinner. Marcus's designer suit couldn't hide the sweat on his forehead as he took another angry phone call. I'll have your money. The Mills project is a sure thing. What do you mean he's backing out? Emma sent another message the next day. He's drinking again. Found receipts from the Golden Leaf Hotel in his jacket. Who's Catherine? For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Send me those receipts, I replied. And then call. Mom, tell her, I said urgently. She needs to stay with you for a few days. The pieces were finally falling into place. Marcus Reynolds was about to learn the hard way that karma doesn't rely on the justice system to work its magic. Mr. Mills, I have some photos you might want to see. The anonymous email landed perfectly. Within hours, the Mills project was officially dead. He's ruined me. Marcus's enraged screams echoed through the house. 5 years of work, gone. Someone's trying to destroy me. Emma called me from Mom's house where she'd been staying. Anna, he's losing it. The bank called. They're foreclosing on the house. Good. Did you give those forged mortgage documents to the FBI? This morning, she confirmed. They seemed very interested in his other properties too. The news broke soon after. Local developer Marcus Reynolds under federal investigation for fraud. His investors scattered like rats fleeing a sinking ship. You think you can leave me? Marcus's chilling voicemail to Emma echoed in the courtroom. After everything I've done for you, I'll destroy you. Your Honor, Emma's lawyer began, presenting the evidence we painstakingly gathered. This voicemail, along with these documents, illustrates systematic financial abuse and fraud. The judge's expression grew darker with each page. Then, a familiar face appeared on the local news. It was Sarah, Marcus's ex-wife from Seattle. When I saw the story about his arrest, I knew I had to come forward, she told reporters. What he did to me, he can't keep getting away with it. My phone buzzed. It was Diane. Anna, you won't believe this. Those loan sharks Marcus borrowed from, they're under FBI investigation too. They're rolling over on everyone, including him. I watched the news from my hospital bed, my newborn daughter sleeping peacefully in my arms. The screen showed Marcus being led out of his office in handcuffs. Multiple counts of fraud, domestic violence, assault. The charges kept piling up. How's my niece? Emma asked as she visited us in the hospital, her smile brighter than I'd seen in years. Perfect, I said. How's the new job? Better than perfect, she replied. The domestic violence shelter needed a coordinator, and with my experience, well, at least something good came from all of this. A week later, my marketing firm got a call from Marcus's old business partners. We'd like to discuss a rebranding, they said. Sorry, I told them. We don't work with companies that turn a blind eye to abuse. But I hear Johnson Associates is hiring. They're big on corporate responsibility. The final blow came during Marcus's sentencing. Mr. Reynolds, the judge said firmly, your pattern of financial and physical abuse reflects a profound moral corruption. 20 years. No possibility of parole for 10. Emma and I watched as he was led away, his once impeccable designer suit replaced by the dull orange of a prison uniform. You know, Emma said as she bounced my daughter on her knee in my living room. I used to think I needed him, that I was nothing without him, and now you're helping other women escape men like him, I finished, smiling. Karma's funny that way, she said, smiling back. My daughter gurgled happily, grabbing Emma's finger. Outside, the city skyline sparkled. The same buildings Marcus once dreamed of ruling over, now owned by others while he sat in his cell. I got another letter from him last week. Emma mentioned it too. Asking for forgiveness. Saying he's changed. I burned mine without reading it. Some people don't deserve second chances. I hugged my sister tightly, my daughter nestled between us. Marcus tried to take years from Emma, tried to take my baby. But in the end he lost everything, while we grew stronger. That's the thing about karma. It might take time, but it never forgets. What would you do if you discovered your sibling's spouse was abusive, but they begged you to stay quiet? Would you respect their wishes or take action, no matter the cost? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about overcoming toxic relationships and finding justice. Together, we can help others who might need to hear these messages. Hi, everyone. My name's Pamela, and I'm a real estate agent here in Boston. Today, I'm going to share the story of how my mother-in-law, Patricia, went from controlling to downright dangerous. Buckle up, this one's a ride. I met Mike 3 years ago at a luxury home showing. He was charming, successful, and we hit it off right away. A year later, we were married. That's when Patricia entered my life. The first time I met her, she looked me up and down in her perfectly tailored Channel suit, her expression more appraising than welcoming. Darling, she said with a condescending tilt of her head, real estate. Isn't that a bit ambitious for someone from your background? The comment came during our engagement dinner, and I can still hear the disdain in her voice. At first, Mike's sister Emma seemed like an ally. Over coffee, she'd roll her eyes and tell me, don't take it personally. Mom's like this with everyone. But everything changed when I got pregnant. Mother thinks you should consider a different doctor, Emma mentioned one day during lunch. She knows a wonderful OBGYN who delivered all of us. Unhappy with Dr. Roberts, I replied. That didn't stop Patricia. She began showing up at my appointments uninvited, announcing to the receptionist, as the grandmother, I have a right to be involved. The receptionist would glance at me apologetically, but Patricia was relentless. Then came Tom's wedding. Tom, Mike's younger brother, was marrying Sophia. The date? 2 weeks before my due date. You absolutely must attend. Patricia insisted over Sunday dinner. It would be terribly embarrassing for Mike if you weren't there. I've already arranged your outfit. My doctor advised against traveling this late in the pregnancy. I protested. Nonsense, she scoffed. I carried all 3 of my children to term and never once let it slow me down. Besides, I'll be there to help if anything happens. And then she dropped the bombshell. Of course, I'll also be in the delivery room. As the family matriarch, it's my place to welcome my grandchild. That's not happening, I said firmly. Patricia's smug smile sent a chill down my spine. We'll see about that, she said. Mike agrees with me, don't you, dear? Mike stirred his coffee, avoiding my gaze. Mom has experience with these things. Honey, maybe we should consider it. Emma nodded along, completely transformed from the supportive friend she once was. Mother knows best, Pamela. You're new to all this. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs, the constant undermining, the sly comments about my quaint upbringing, The reminders that Patricia came from old money while I was just a middle-class girl. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened at Tom's wedding. The morning of the wedding was a disaster. Patricia showed up at my house at 7 a.m., criticizing everything. "That lipstick is far too bold for a daytime wedding. Use this instead," she said, handing me an expensive nude shade. "And you're not wearing those shoes, are you? They're so department store." Mike rolled his eyes but stayed silent. By the time we arrived at the country club, I was already exhausted. "Pamela, you look ready to pop." Maria, Sophia's best friend, hugged me. She knew about my high-risk pregnancy. "Are you sure you should be here?" Not like I had a choice, I muttered, gesturing toward Patricia, who was busy bossing around photographers. During the ceremony, the first contraction hit. I gripped the pew, trying to breathe through it. Maria noticed. "Maybe we should get you out of here." "No, I'm fine," I whispered. "Just Braxton Hicks." At the reception, the contractions grew stronger. Patricia noticed me grimacing and swept over, her tone deceptively sweet. "Darling, you look dreadful. Let's get you somewhere quiet. We can't have you making a scene." "I should probably go home," I began, but she was already steering me toward the stairs. "There's a lovely guest room upstairs. You can rest, and I'll check on you later." The room was gorgeous, with antique furniture and heavy curtains. Patricia helped me to the bed, then casually slipped my phone from my purse. "I'll hold on to this so you won't be disturbed," she said with a smile. "Wait," I started, but she was already gone. The door clicked. Locked. "Patricia," I called, struggling to sit up. Her voice came through the door, calm and composed. "It's for your own good, dear. We can't have you wandering around and drawing attention away from the bride. Just rest quietly, and I'll come get you." This wasn't funny anymore. The contractions were coming stronger now, and panic was rising fast. I rattled the locked door again, desperation creeping into my voice. "Patricia, this isn't Braxton Hicks. I'm in labor." "Oh, don't be dramatic." Her voice came dismissively from the other side. "I had Braxton Hicks with all 3 of my children. Just rest. You'll be fine." My heart pounded as I scanned the room, spotting a phone on the bedside table. I grabbed it, but my hopes were dashed. It was dead. "Please," I begged, my voice trembling, "just let me call Mike." There was no response. The contractions were getting closer, and I moved to the window, but we were on the 3rd floor. Below, the laughter and music of the reception mocked my growing terror. Downstairs, Maria was starting to worry. She asked around, "Has anyone seen Pamela?" "She's just resting upstairs." Patricia said smoothly, sipping her champagne. First-time mothers can be so dramatic. She asked not to be disturbed. But Maria wasn't buying it. She turned to Mike. "I've looked everywhere. I can't find her." "She's probably in the bathroom," Mike replied, barely glancing up. Upstairs, I was on the floor, trying to breathe through another contraction when I heard Maria's voice in the hallway. Summoning all my strength, I cried out, my voice trembling, "I'm locked in. Please help me." "Oh my God, Pamela." Maria's footsteps hurried closer. "Where are you?" "In here." The door's locked. I managed before another contraction hit, making me cry out in pain. "Hold on." James, get up here now." Moments later, James's voice joined hers. "What's going on?" "She's locked in. She's in labor." "Stand back from the door," James ordered. I scooted away just as he rammed his shoulder against the old wooden door. It held for 2 tries, but on the 3rd, it splintered open. Maria rushed to my side. "How far apart are the contractions?" "Maybe 4 minutes," I gasped. "I don't know anymore." Patricia took my phone. I couldn't time them. James was already dialing for an ambulance when Patricia appeared in the doorway, her face twisted with outrage. "What on earth are you doing? That door is an antique." "What am I doing?" I screamed through another contraction. "You locked me in here." Patricia's voice was ice cold. "Don't be ridiculous. I was helping you rest. You're clearly hysterical." Mike appeared behind her, looking confused. "What's going on?" "Your mother locked your wife in here while she's in active labor," Maria snapped. She took her phone and disconnected the room phone. Mike hesitated, his brow furrowing. "I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding. Mom was just trying to help." "Help?" James spun around, his voice sharp. "This is false imprisonment of a woman in labor. Do you understand how serious this is?" Patricia's face turned red. "Now see here. I was simply trying to prevent her from making a scene. She's always been so attention-seeking, trying to overshadow family events with her common behavior. Another contraction hit, and I cried out, clutching Maria's hand. She's faking it, Patricia declared, her tone dripping with contempt. She's just jealous of Tom and Sophia's special day. Maria exploded. Her water just broke, Patricia. You're insane. Moments later, paramedics pushed through the growing crowd of wedding guests. As they loaded me onto the stretcher, Patricia was still protesting. This is absolutely ridiculous. She's ruining everything, just like I knew she would. The next few hours were a blur of pain and chaos. But at 9:47 p.m., my daughter, Luna, arrived, perfect and healthy. When I woke in the hospital later, Maria was dozing in a chair beside me and Luna was peacefully asleep in her bassinet. "Where's Mike?" I asked groggily. Maria's expression darkened. "He's in the waiting room, with Patricia." Of course he was. The door opened and Mike walked in, Patricia right behind him, both still in their wedding clothes. "Honey," Mike began, "there's been a huge misunderstanding. Mom was just trying to help. You know how overwhelming these society events can be for someone not used to them." "Not used to them?" I stared at him, disbelief twisting in my chest. "I could have lost our baby because of her." "That's hysterical thinking," Patricia cut in, her voice cold and dismissive. "I raised 3 children. I know what real labor looks like. You were fine." Maria stood up, blocking Patricia's path to my bed. "I think you both need to leave. Now." "This is a family matter," Patricia began. But Maria cut her off. "Family doesn't lock family in rooms and endanger their lives. Get out before I call security." As they left, I looked down at my sleeping daughter and made a decision. This would be the last time Patricia, or Mike, would ever have the chance to hurt us. Maria's guest room became our sanctuary during those first chaotic weeks. Between night feedings and divorce paperwork, I barely had time to process everything. James was a godsend, handling the legal details while I focused on Luna. "We're filing for both divorce and a restraining order," James explained one morning over coffee. What happened at the wedding wasn't just cruel, it was criminal. Then came the bombshell. One day, Emma appeared at Maria's door, her hands trembling as she handed James a USB drive. "I can't keep quiet anymore," she said, her voice cracking. "Mom's been horrible for years, but this is too far. It's security footage from the wedding." On a screen, Patricia was seen locking the door, then turning to a friend with a smug smile. "Now she can't make a scene." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry, Pamela. I should have stopped her sooner." The story spread like wildfire. Wedding guests had already been sharing photos and videos of the aftermath. Me being wheeled out on a stretcher, Patricia ranting about attention-seeking behavior. But when the security footage leaked, it was over for her. "Did you see?" Patricia Morrison locked her pregnant daughter-in-law in a room during active labor. The headlines were everywhere. One by one, her society friends abandoned her. Maria told me later that Patricia was removed from her cherished charity board. "We cannot have someone who would endanger a mother and child representing our organization," they announced publicly. Mike didn't fare much better. His real estate clients fled his business in droves. A former colleague of mine told me he even showed up drunk to a house showing. The horrified clients left immediately. "They all know about what happened at the wedding," my colleague said. Meanwhile, I focused on healing and rebuilding. Surprisingly, new clients began seeking me out. "We want someone with integrity," they'd say. "Someone who stood up to that awful woman." 3 years flew by, and I opened my own firm, Morrison Real Estate, reclaiming the name on my terms. Maria became Luna's godmother, and James continued to handle all our legal work. My boutique agency specializes in helping people find not just houses, but real homes, places where they'll feel safe and happy. Today was Luna's 3rd birthday party. My backyard was alive with laughter, children running and playing, supportive friends mingling, and even a few of Patricia's former social circle who had chosen me over her. Mike showed up briefly, awkwardly handing Luna a wrapped present. "Happy birthday," he mumbled, before leaving as quickly as he came. The disapproving looks from my friends probably made it clear he wasn't welcome. "More juice, please," Luna called out, her curls bouncing as she ran by with her friends. Tom and Sophia approached, carrying a beautifully wrapped gift. "We're moving to London," Tom announced as he hugged me tight. Sophia beamed, her hands resting on her growing belly. "We just want to raise our baby without any of that negative energy." "We'll always stay in touch," Tom promised. "Your family, the good kind." Maria nudged me as they left. "Don't look now, but guess who's parked across the street?" I glanced out the window and caught sight of Patricia's Bentley. She was sitting there alone, watching the party she wasn't invited to. A few years ago, the sight of her would have made my blood boil. Now, all I felt was pity. "Should we call someone?" Maria asked, raising an eyebrow. "No need," I said, turning back to the party. "She's punishing herself more than we ever could." I knelt beside Luna as she leaned over her cake. "Make a wish, baby," I whispered. As the candles flickered out, I realized I didn't need to make wishes anymore. Everything I needed was already here. What would you do if you were Tom and Sophia? Would you stay close to toxic family members during your pregnancy, hoping they'd change or move away to protect your unborn child like they did? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you've ever dealt with controlling in-laws or toxic family dynamics, I'd love to hear your story. Remember, sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming toxic relationships and finding strength in unexpected places. Your support helps me share stories that matter.